Okay, here's another question in our textbook. They've got all these really good examples, and it kind of walks you through. It shows you in blue the words that would describe the steps that are being done here to solve. We have a division with this sort of symbol, then we have a division with the fraction bar, and so on. And they progressively get a little bit more difficult as we go. Let's look at, I guess we'll look at letter L. This says 6 minus a negative 42. And so, like the video I solved before, anytime you hear the word minus, you want to think of 3 different maybe terms that your teacher has used. I think of add the opposite. You might think of keep, change, or keep, change, flip even. What that means is anytime you see this minus sign, you're going to change it, or actually when you hear the word minus, when you read it out loud, you'll change that minus to a plus, so that becomes plus. And then the opposite of a negative 42 is a positive 42. And so that becomes a positive 6, which it already was, but then this becomes a 42 that's also positive. If I'm having to solve what's on top first, I definitely like the Panthers positive and nobody's for negatives scoreboard, meaning here we have 6 points for the Panthers because it is positive, and this 42 is also positive. Now, if I'm really looking at a scoreboard, it's not going to be written necessarily like this, but you are going to add up the 2 teams' scores. Obviously, nobody's have a big fat 0. 6, 7, 8. That's a positive 48 to 0. So if we ask who wins, we know it's positive, and you would say, well, by how many points? And it's by positive 48 points. So that becomes my answer to what I have here on top in my numerator. My denominator stays the same, and that's a negative 12. At this point, I remember that a fraction bar means to divide, and I would ask myself, okay, well, let's figure out the sign first. This is a positive, and that's a negative. And for those of you that like the tic-tac-toe method, it looks like this, where you have your positives on a diagonal. Everything else can be filled in with negatives. And remember, these rules work for multiplication and division. So we have a positive divided by a negative. So positive divided by negative is a negative answer. And then I'm going to worry about numbers. And I'd ask, how many times does 12 go into 48? And I know that goes in 4 times. So my answer here is negative 4.